Happy New Year, you mentees. We are ready to start a new decade here. The 2020s. It's going to be exciting for all of us, and I want you to be completely prepared for what is happening in the 2020s. And this time of year is just a really great time, if you've not done it yet, to prepare for this. And you do that by, this is what I normally do, and what I'm in the process of doing is, first you start by actually celebrating what did I do. And the interesting, you can do it each year, but what is interesting exactly, we are entering a new decade here, so it's really a good opportunity to look at the last 10 years and see what did I actually achieve, and look forward to the next 10 years. What am I going to achieve in the next 10 years? So this is what I do. I started by celebrating my wins for 2019, 2010 to 2019. Because it's nice to look at what can you actually achieve in the span of 10 years. It gives you a little bit more time to actually do things. And for me, I've had a lot of wins in the last 10 years. First of all, I started by my Danish company. I started the whole coaching business. I taught myself a lot of things. I go into detail. I became a passion test facilitator. I started using Roger Hamilton's tools. And I actually started, this is 5 years ago, I just celebrated here in October. And of course, the next one is Birka, which is the really big one. So we acquired Birka and developed Birka in these 10 years. But it's also on a personal level. For example, I developed my marriage in a nice way, and I actually got 2 of my kids through college in these last 10 years. It's like I'm letting go of this very close relationship with my sons because they have to fly out now. So it's a new area for me in my personal life also that I would put in here and celebrate. And then after you've actually owned what have I been doing for the last 10 years, you go into what is my intention for the next 10 years. What would I actually achieve in the next 10 years? And for me, this period of time where I'm in my life, it's like these are probably going to be the last 10 years of my working life. So for me, it's not starting so much new stuff that it might be for some of you, but it's more going into really deepening Birka and getting Birka to flourish in the right way, and to develop the tools that I'm using for my coaching business. And so going into these kind of things, and it's also, I know it's not that climate friendly, but I also need to travel. It's a big passion of mine to travel. And this is the time where we don't have the kids any longer. So we already started that up here. I have started to have some big travels. And this is what we're going to do for the next 10 years also, why we are still able to do it. So this is the part about the wins and the intentions. So I would love for you to look into that and really play with it and have fun with it. And just remember that setting intention is not a set plan. It can change. It's also flexible. It's not like, I did this 10 years ago, and it was quite fun to look at it here the other day to see what did I actually achieve, what I had set intention up for. Some of it actually were right spot on, some of it didn't happen. Because it's one thing is setting the intentions and living by intentions, but it's also being able to let go and follow the flow of the universe. So see, I didn't have any plans on creating Birka, but I allowed myself, when the opportunity came, to actually pursue that chance of creating Birka. So it's a fine balance about being clear about what you want to create, but also letting go and let the universe steer you in the direction, and being able to take the chances that come along. Just remember that fine balance with that. And then we go into the more concrete planning of the next year that I have already talked to quite a lot of you about. And this is a method that I learned from Roger Hamilton that I'm quite happy to use, and what I find actually is quite fun to work with. So it's about actually looking at what did I plan to do for the next year? And I'm going to go into 2020, but of course for a lot of us, we already have plans for 2021 and 2022. Then you just make the same circle for the next following years and start to plot into those also. And it will always be that there's most plotted into the closest things, but it's nice to get an overview. So this is the method. You create this cross and you write the 4 quarters, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 3, 4, to kind of get an overview of what is the projects that I have, what are the tasks that I'm engaged in for the next year. There's also a little number, it's a $sign down here. Because I also want you to be aware about how much earning do I need to do for the next quarter. So it's trying to balance how much earning do I need to make my personal life and my business life run in the right way. So you set an intention about this is the amount that I want to earn. And you also put into, so when you created this form, you start putting projects in there. And most of you know that I love my little yellow post-it notes. So for example, I have made a post-it note here that you can try to see. I hope you can see it. It's called my mini services. It's my coaching that I do. And I've written in here that I want to do 5 of these mini coaches. And for each one of them, I take 2,500 Danish kroner. So this will earn me 12,500 kroner, and the amount of time it will take is 8 hours per each time I do it, so that will take me 40 hours all in all for this period of time. And this I put in for the quarter 1. I will make a similar one for the other quarters, but I will adjust it a little bit because I know from me in quarter 2 and quarter 3 it's a lot about Birka, but these 2 quarters, the first and the last quarter of the year, I have more time to do coaching, so I'll probably only do 3 mini services down here. So this is how you kind of look at it and see what can I actually do in this period of time. I also know already that here in February I'm going to travel to New Zealand and Australia, and I'm going to the APAM in Australia. So I made a little note for that. And as you can see, it says income of 0 kroner and an use of 60 hours. It's just to remind ourselves that there are periods that we take out where we don't have income, but we use a lot of hours at the same time. I also have one of my not so fun things, but that, you know, the things that you need to do. This is for me, it's finaling up the contact zones project that I've been working on the last year, and I need to do the final account of it. And it's kind of like I'm not getting any more money to doing the final account, but I need to do it, and I know it will take me at least 30 hours. So I put a note in for that also, so I know I have to set aside time to do that. I'm also working on a new project. This is the more fun stuff. A project I call Clemenskov Territorial. It's a residency project this summer. And I'm going to do work on an application and the whole idea and developing the idea for that, and start doing the fundraising, which is a task that I'm really looking forward to doing the next 2 weeks. That's going to be a 0 kroner. There's no income for that, because it's developing, it's an investment of time into developing new projects. And I have set aside 40 hours to do that. So I hope I can do it for that amount of time. And then I also have made a little note for the Island Connect project. I know we need to launch the project next week. We got funding for it. And I also need to look at all the applications that come in and make a decision about who's going to have the Island Connect. So that's what I'm going to do a lot here in January. And we got funding for it. So here I have an income for 5,000 kroner. And I said, okay, it will take me 20 hours to do all of this work. I already did some of it. So I'm putting that one up there. And then I looked at the Island Connect project, and I made already some notes for the next quarters, because I know in quarter 2 here for the Island Connect we will have a capacity workshop, and I will also have the first period of the residencies. So that's gonna make me an income of 10,000 Danish kroners. I know I wrote dollars here, but use the currency that you normally work in. And I'm putting 50 hours aside in quarter 2 for that. And in quarter 3, I have the second residency. I'm gonna finish up the project. And that still gives me an income because in the budget there's a amount set aside for me. So that's how, you see, I can take every project and kind of look at it and say, okay, for this project, this is what I'm going to do in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. And then basically this is what you do to continue. What really think about, what other projects do I have? I'm not finished here completely. I do have smaller other projects, just to give you an idea about how to do that. Then when I have gathered everything I can think about for the next year, I put it together. And I look at the numbers, and here I know I want to make, let's say, it's 3 months. I need to make an income. I know that for this quarter I'm going to be traveling for a month, so it's hard to make too big. But I want to make an income for myself for 60,000 Danish kroners. And down here it will then be 90,000. So I look at, what have I actually got here? Doesn't look too good for me here actually. So I need to look at what else can I do to actually mount up to getting that amount of money in the period of time that I have available. And then I need to balance it with the hours that I have, so I don't overwork myself. So it's finding that balance about how do I earn the money and how much hours do I use to earn that money. And you do that for every quarter, and this will give you an overview. And I know you all got that file, Excel arc, where you can actually start writing. After you have done this as a kind of overview, you put all the data into the Excel arc and say, okay, this is the one, this is the different tasks that I have, this is the different things that I need to do every month. There's also different, I have set aside a certain amount of hours to do newsletters every month, for example. Stuff like that. You need to set aside the hours, and then you need to balance it. So to make sure, you will see then when you make the overview, how am I actually doing in terms of income and in terms of the hours that I'm using. And that, for me at least, has been very enlightening to see how can I balance that, so I don't overuse my time, for example, or I don't expect to earn more money than I actually am expecting to earn. So if I don't make that amount of money, I need to scale down on my expenses. So it's finding this whole balance about in your life about what am I actually doing, what am I having of an income. I hope that makes sense to you. It's a good tool to get clarity about it. And again, it's not a fixed thing. You know, we also have these review things, so you have to go in every month at least to look at these when you have done the Excel arc. This is one thing you do every year. You make the planning every year. Then I have actually written it into the Excel arc for every quarter. So there's a page for every quarter in the Excel arc. So once a month you need to go in and make an overview of the next quarters. Say what is changing, how are things going. And once a week is probably the best. I'm not so good at doing it once a week, I have to admit. But once in a while go into the use, you're doing this to use it. So you go in, and here in the Excel arc you detail it a little bit more. You know, we're using this, you ask the question, what am I doing? With whom am I doing it? When and where am I doing it? And how am I doing it? So this is the things you have to do with every project. How many hours am I using? How much income am I getting for this project? And try to detail it out. And then you also have a possibility of writing a status. How is this project doing? How am I actually going on the different kind of projects? So you can detail it in the way that you need to. And of course, being by yourself, it's much more easy to be flexible. But as soon as you have other people that you are responsible for or that you are accountable to, you need to be a little bit more responsible towards how do I review these kind of plans? Are plans going accordingly to what we have planned? So this was just a little introduction to doing some of this. I hope that you will be working efficiently with it or having fun doing it. It should be a little bit fun to do stuff like this. And it feels really great to get the overview, at least it does for me. I'm not so organized, so I need to do something like this to actually get myself into being organized. But most of all, I just look forward to seeing you all here in 2020 next week for the joint mentorship or our individual mentorship sessions. And I look forward to doing what I can to support your plans, to support the things that you have set out to do for 2020 and for the next decade. So goodbye from me.